have our 10-second countdown, followed by the 3-second backlash of,
You're good, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we are good to go. Start the work session.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to talk about the closed landfill a little bit. As you know, Dwight Williams from HCW will be talking to us at 9:30. And the reason I need to talk a little bit ahead of time is I learned yesterday there's another player interested in the salt from the marsh. If you'll recall, Jason Ziss from Kurtz Brothers met with the trustees approximately 2 years ago to talk about the dredging project where they bought the old CEI fly ash site right behind the Township Park, where the pavilion is, the pier. They bought that property, and they're going to use it. They're going to develop it as a dredging site, and it's a big engineering project. But they are also interested in the salt from the Menor Marsh. They will recycle the salt that will be coming out of there that can be used on roads. The salt can't be used by ODOT. It doesn't meet their standards, but communities can use it. So I'm just giving you a heads up that Jason will be sitting in on the meeting at 9:30 when Dwight's talking with us. So Dwight's purpose for meeting with us is to talk about here's what would happen over there. Well, here's what we need to do and what will happen over there if we want to pursue this with the EPA. The Kurtz Brothers, now Jason has kept in touch with me once a quarter. He calls me and updates me on how they're doing with that site and the process and the problems they were having. And he called me just to update me yesterday by coincidence, and we figured out that both Painesville Township and Kurtz Brothers might be interested in that salt. I don't know how that gets resolved. We haven't even decided we're interested in pursuing this, but I'm just giving you a heads up. That's why Jason will be on. You've met him before. He did agree to join the JED if they when they open the dredging site. So it's a really complicated project, both of them, the dredging site and this reopening and closing the landfill. But I'm just giving you a heads up so you know who's on the phone.
so the guy on the dredging site, Kurtz,
Yes.
they want to take the salt and do what with it?
Part of it, there's part of it is recyclable, and they will recycle it as part of what their business does. Part of it is not recyclable, and they will use it in their. They've got to dig out what amounts to a great big hole where they're going to have the fly ash site, and they got to line it with materials so they can use some of the material. And Jason will be happy to meet with the trustees and explain exactly how that works over there.
Does the EPA have to buy off on that too?
I do not know.
I mean, they are right next to the lake.
Probably. I don't know, but probably. I know the EPA is heavily involved in their project. They're and the Army Corps of Engineers is. They're approving every step of the way.
Okay.
So just so we know.
Okay.
Okay. No questions? All righty. Talk about Center Park Estates a little bit. About a month ago, I'm sorry, right after the last meeting, Chuck, you asked me to get an update on Center Park Estates. I spoke with Tim Miller two and a half weeks ago, and he did tell me they have separated all of the easements. They know where we have easements throughout this project, and they know the properties that we do not have easements on that we would have to work at. I'm going to recommend we have Tim join us for a meeting to discuss this part of the project. But getting the easements could be very expensive and very time-consuming. I don't know how many there are. He didn't know during that conversation exactly how many easements we would have to obtain. He's very concerned about.
Feedback again.
Take your mic
Yeah.
and put it like towards by your water, and then angle it towards you. There we go. See
Like
if that
this?
helps. Yeah.
Okay. Excuse me. So I'm going to recommend that we have Tim come in and talk to us about it. We may want to consider hiring a firm to obtain the easements and negotiate with the property owners. What Tim's concerned about is that some property owners are going to see this as an opportunity to make something. And it's going to increase the cost of our project. It could increase the cost of our project considerably. So we're ready to start on the easements. You know, who's going to do it, how long it's going to take, how much we're willing to commit to buying or paying people or doing things for people to get them get an easement for us. There may be an alternative that I would recommend the trustees talk with Tim about. An alternative would be, for the most part, we've only had one resident and one business complain in the 7.5 years I've been here about stormwater flooding in Center Park Estates. One is a resident on Normandy, and the other is Lake Med. Excuse me, on Normandy. The owners of Lake Med do understand now that that parking lot was built as a collection and draining point for stormwater drainage. So they're really not concerned, because they do agree with us that in all the years, any flooding event, nothing's ever gotten into Lake Med. So we basically are looking at this project, what amounts to probably for one resident. And Tim and I are wondering, could we scale the project back to do something that might assist that resident on Normandy, and we may not have to deal with the whole rest of the project. Tim does not have a specific suggestion, but I know between he and Bill there are a few ideas that maybe we could do a scaled-down project and take care of the flooding in the area we get complaints from and not address the rest of the area since nobody's complained. That would be a discussion with Tim at a future meeting.
So, go ahead. So one of the points on that, I know initially, as I understood it, they were talking about like a large basin on the fairgrounds property back in the woods area. If that were to be an option, that would hold the water back from that area, which is what's flooding that whole area, and then the rest of it was just getting the water transported, as I understand it, to the other basins, creating another basin to hold that and then get it transported on. But if what we're suggesting or considering here is putting a basin, as they were talking originally, on a fairgrounds parking lot, well, of what could have been a parking lot back in the woods area, then that would make sense. I mean, I'm open to that. It doesn't have to be the full scale if it's not necessary. And so part of it also, though, Mike, is I know we've said it's just the one person complaining and the one business complaining. I think sometimes, though, people don't complain because we've been so vocal about addressing this issue, and so they're comfortable knowing that we're working on it. And so maybe that's suppressing a little bit of the complaints. I don't know. I'm just hypothetically thinking out loud.
I was thinking the same thing, that yeah, people know we're working on it. It might only be one vocal person, but it could impact others.
Yeah.
But definitely, I mean, I don't know. Center Park Estates has been a long-standing drainage issue for years, before us even. Yeah, so if we can do something, if it's a scaled-down project,
Because you look at, remember the storm, the one business up front by Menor Avenue? I mean, when that whole area was underwater a couple of years back, and we were trustees at that point.
water came pouring out of Marks and
Yeah, and then that one drain, it was just like, it's like there was it was so overfilled, it was just shooting out. And then it was going into Menor Avenue and creating flooding in Menor Avenue, which was a dangerous situation. So, but
Yeah.
let's see what we can address.
yeah, if we can do something, I mean, for 20 years nothing's happened. It's been looked at and talked about. If we can actually do something, even if it's a scaled down first step, yeah. So
Would that scaled down version still allow you to do the bigger version in the event
That this doesn't work.
I don't know. Tim does not have a specific plan to propose. He would like to discuss it, and he has some thoughts, but there is no plan for a scaled-down project, or to answer those questions, I just don't know.
All right.
That's where we need Tim to...
Set it up.
yeah,
Okay, alrighty.
that'd be a good idea.
Okay. The next thing I have is, at the last meeting, Gabe asked me to look into, is there still a 10-person limit on government meetings, or is there no limit? And it turns out there is an exception for government meetings to allow more than 10 people to assemble at one place. So the question is, do we want to open the meetings to the public, or do we want to continue leaving the meetings, public can't come in at this time? Just whatever you want.
I mean, I feel like we opened it up. It's not like we ever had more than 2 people here anyway, so at least give people that want to come, the few that,
Yeah,
the option.
I mean, we can open it up, but we don't have to.
Can you
We don't
open
have
it up with a size limit?
At the risk of turning people away, which I'm not sure would be a good practice. If we said the building's open, we're going to limit it to 10, and 11 and 12 show up at the door and we say you can't come in, I think that would be bad PR.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at this room, and so you have Chief and Bill sitting there, and then it's us. So if they were to occupy the first 2 seats, and then how many more could you fit back there comfortably? 5 more maybe?
We might be able to restack those
Yeah, I
and
mean, we
organize
could do
that to
something with that if we
free up
need
space
to.
over there.
I mean, in your 8 years, how many times do you see more than 2 people in here?
Well, we haven't, but
That's- I
there's
mean,
that thing,
So, I mean, if that rare event happens, I guess at that
But
point.
this would also apply to zoning board meetings. That's where you're more likely to get people showing up.
They don't even come to a meeting.
Don't they
If
do
there's
remote?
if there's a excited issue, there will, but,
I'm saying zoning doesn't even come to a meeting, right?
oh, they
I
do it
have-
all from home?
No, they're all remote.
At the beginning of this, I told the chairman of each commission that it was their call whether they held
Right.
in-person meetings or did them remotely. That was before we had to close up. So I've left that to the chairman to decide, and they are still doing everything remotely.
Yeah, they
I
don't
mean,
even have meetings.
Why don't we just open it and we don't make a big deal out of it, but we'll allow
Right.
people to come, but we don't need to make a big deal out of the fact that we're opening for meetings. We'll
Yeah,
still
say
stream.
We're open, and like I said, and I think out of the 10 years I've been here, you could probably count on one hand or less how many times we've had more than 10 people in this room.
So true.
And that was for a contentious issue that, you know.
Yeah,
so-
unless you want to open up an apartment complex that somebody is sure will become Section 8, then we can get lots of people here.
Right.
So
That's
that-
what I mean. So aside from that, it's like,
Either that, if you have a big contentious issue like that, maybe you ask those people to, hey, send representatives or whatever, like they've done in the past, where they've had.
Mike, I don't think you could
homeowner
place a limit on how people can attend a meeting. It's either you can come in or you can't.
Yeah, if it
that's what I'm
happens.
saying. It's such a rarity. Let's deal with it if it even happens.
Because like when you go to a bar or restaurant, right, the people that come in as a group to have dinner, they sit together.
Right.
So you could actually even arrange it with those that come in together, like a husband and wife. could be
Yeah,
sitting
that's that
together.
too. Yeah, you could put 2 people, same party or household or whatever.
I mean, because even putting 6 foot on it, you got, if you get all these chairs, you got enough for 10, 15 people.
So I mean,
Yeah.
and I can't even remember the last time we had. I mean, I think it was maybe when we did the thing in Grand River, and that was over 2 years ago, and we only had 6 people here, or 8 people. So
Yeah.
I think it's time to open it back up.
I'm not opposed to that at all. It's just, I'm concerned if something happens that, it's always that thing that could happen. So if that one thing happens, how do you deal with it? Because I don't want 20 people in here.
Can we make an exception? I mean, if we know, if something's contentious, we have an idea that it's gonna
Yeah,
be
we can plan
contentious.
ahead. If we know.
We can then, I mean.
Well, how do you
make the-
plan ahead then?
Make the decision to close Township Hall?
Can't hold it in a larger, hold it in
I think we're putting a what if that probably won't even exist because it's happened so rarely in the 10 years or in the 8 years
We've
you've been
had
here
big,
that it wouldn't
things,
even.
we've actually put them, set people up in like the garage of the
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
fire department.
Can we just make it online only for a specific meeting if needed?
I think we could. I think on a case-by-case basis, we could say the building is not open to the public, and publish the directions for dialing in like we do. So I think if we knew a what if was coming, we would have the opportunity to manage that.
Okay,
That's up to you
Okay.
guys.
all right, if that's an option, I'm okay. Is that an option there, Jeremy?
Yeah, definitely legally you can do that. And I was gonna say too, you got about 7 people watching now. If you had a huge contentious issue and limited the number of people here, they still have the option to view it online.
Okay.
Okay,
So it's not like you're stopping anybody from coming and they have no other way of viewing or participating. So at least you have another option.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. The township app has been updated since our last meeting, and I want to know if anybody, Karen found a minor thing in the minutes between zoning and township hall, which we can, or the trustees, which we can get them to fix. But I was wondering if the trustees have any other questions or concerns, if you want to release it.
yeah, look good to me. Everything we asked them to do just got done.
Yeah, so they said it takes probably 7 days for it to be released, to work through the App Store and Google, or something like that. But then we need training on how to update things as well, right?
Oh, sure, but that,
Need to decide who's updating. Hey, to everybody, or?
well, yeah, I
just-
mean, we can decide
Yeah,
that, but I
figure it
think
out.
initially, and if there's anything that needs put up there, they're willing to do it until we know how, so we
Well,
have somebody to do it. If
So
we need
like,
it
yeah, so
updated.
like calendar, like under community, calendar, it's a blank page right now. We were gonna add the 5 events we have scheduled. But yeah, I mean, I think we can start working through the process to release it.
Yeah.
And in the next week, get that updated. Each of us should probably write a short bio, 2-3 sentences to put on that trustee page.
What is it that was not updated?
So under community calendar, it's just a blank page.
It's supposed to list the events in chronological order
Okay.
so that they can tap them and then they get put into their calendar if they want. I mean, if you provided him with a list, I'm sure he would load them up pretty quickly.
Okay.
Make them earn that money.
Maybe even under the brush and leaf drop schedule. I mean, if we have those dates, well, that's something we can get to, but, okay. Because we have the dates for stuff in 2021 that we could probably put up there. So. But yeah, for the most part, it's good. So, yeah, start the process. And, I don't know, maybe I'll try to type up something, like a little short bio for me, send it off to you guys write something. We can send it to the app people to get those uploaded. I'm thinking 2-3 sentences. Elected, so-and-so, family, whatever. This is what they do.
Kate flashing behind you as you run.
And that's what I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Could we do an executive session to discuss salaries, since we got to vote on that?
We have 2 guests at 9:30.
Okay.
Real quick before we get off you, it's I did get not only a full blessing, but in his words, he encourages us to have the parade because he says that we need to start moving forward. So Ron Graham did give us the approval and the blessing, and actually, like I said, in his words, I encourage you to have it because we need to start moving on. So he just said that we got to put out there. You're not your party, the 6 foot, all that stuff, which I'll get to you, but otherwise he's 100% on board with it. And just ask that we tell people, separate 6 people that aren't your own party on the street. If you're closer, the mask. If you're within 6 feet of people that aren't your party, you should wear a mask, that kind of thing. But otherwise, he says it's not an issue and it's outdoors. There's
Okay.
really no.
Who specifically is he having difficulty hearing? Did he say?
Pretty much everybody.
Okay.
So he probably needs the master volume
We'll work on it.
in the broadcast turned up, not in here.
Okay.
So, back to the app, do we want to pick a date that we want to push out, like the,
Are we able to see comments when people raise their hands and stuff?
Yeah, he can, I think.
it's a work session, when there's no comments.
There's no the
There's-
work
there's-
session. we
There's
don't-
no public portion of the work session. But I guess if they couldn't hear, right,
I'm just saying, if he can't hear,
That's
if he
true.
says it's okay to raise his hand or something.
I got you. Rich, can you hear us? Okay. So yeah, so right with the app launch, they do some sort of,
Well, yeah, he's gonna put together a
Motion.
whole launch kit for us. So just tell him to get start working on it, and once he has that ready, then we can just pick a date to release it. He said he'd prepare a launch kit with a video and that kind of stuff. So I'd say just have him start working on preparing our release kit and push it forward through the app stores, because I know that takes 7 to 10 days.
so it looks like end of February, beginning of March, we can really then put it on our Facebook page, email blast, all that sort of thing. So,
Now
Hey-
you gotta be
hey, Frank.
closer to it to speak.
Was it your guys that knew, I feel like we're gonna have a pretty wide option of available people for our parade since, Cleveland already announced that they're not gonna do anything, so, we were on a Sunday. Now, I can't remember, was it somebody through your department knew, like bagpipe guy or something, right?
No, I was working with Neil Conway.
Oh, yeah,
Neil
okay.
Conway raised money from him and Tin Cannon, and a couple other residents chipped in. So I will call Neil today to
Okay,
Yes,
see if you
they're
want to do
still
it this year.
interested.
Okay.
They were footing the bill, so they have to
Sure.
voluntarily want to.
Well, at this point, I think, if they're not gonna foot the bill, I think we should to have this thing, so, let's see if they will, if not, either way, we need to get, I think, bagpipes booked, and,
Once you send it to 'em.
I think, wasn't there a couple other things we had last year we were gonna do?
Oh, yeah, I'll try
Let's
to
rehash those, right, and see if we can get that going, if
Do
you
what?
need help, let me know, I said,
what?
let's rehash those things that we were gonna have from last year,
Yeah.
and if you
Yeah,
need
that's,
help,
that's what I was planning on doing, is just try to reactivate everything for the people who are willing to come back.
alright, great.
There are some who will say no, they're not
Sure.
able or interested, but yeah, try to reinvent what we had. It's too bad we really had momentum going into last year.
Yeah, but I almost think because of the lack of things happening, that we might find a lot more willingness to,
I think so.
to do it because they
I
need
think
something.
We'll have more attendance. I
Yeah.
think.
Good.
Okay.
Could you pull your microphone closer? Sean's having difficulty hearing you.
Okay, we're simply gonna have to put it like this, Mike, when we're sharing.
What's wrong with Mike's? Mike.
His just isn't working. We don't know why. We'll figure that out
Yeah.
after the meeting.
And we did have one comment, Mr. Chairman, on YouTube. It is from a user named Simple Living, just stating, "You guys are doing a great job. Thank you."
Thanks, Mom.
Here's the simple living.
Who wanted executive session? You or Chuck? Lengthy for executive session, Chuck? You thinking
Well, we at
quick
9:30, so
discussion or 10
Yeah, quick
minutes?
discussion,
nothing's ever a quick discussion.
Let's-
I mean, how
Relatively
long we been
speaking.
doing this?
Okay, yeah,
relatively speaking.
okay.
There's definitely not a quick enough to meet out by 9:30
Okay.
for our visitors. That's
So-
for sure.
Yeah, we can't do it that quick.
So are our visitors, I mean, can we start now?
They're going to dial in. Jason Kurtz is dialing in just to observe and learn. Dwight is calling in to talk with us.
Dwight, are you on the
Who's that number in the corner?
line?
That's Jason, or yeah,
Jason.
Jason Hartzell.
Jason?
No, Jason's in the top
Jason's
right.
this?
There's a bottom left corner with a phone number.
Yeah, the 216 area code. That might be Jason again.
It's probably Jason. His is a 216 area code, but I don't know.
Okay,
what
so-
it is. So we're waiting on Dwight Williams.
So, Dwight, are you on? Okay.
What's the last two numbers up there, Mike?
05.
That's not Jason. His ends in 74. At least that's the number I have.
He has it on mute if he's trying to call.
That's not him.
No, that's Jason Kurtz. He's not
Jason
necessarily
Ziss?
participating. He wants to observe. Pardon me?
Jason Ziss?
Oh,
Jason Ziss.
Okay, you said Kurtz.
I'm sorry. He's from Kurtz
Okay.
Brothers.
All right.
So bottom left is from Kurtz Brothers,
We're waiting
and
for
then we're
Dwight.
waiting on somebody else.
We're waiting on Dwight Williams from HCW. HCW represents us in the landfill.
Okay. Fiscal officer, do you have anything for the work session?
We're not gonna do it this week, but, we are going to go ahead and pass our permanent resolutions. Everything will remain the same for the temporary resolution except for the general fund, which we purposely kept lower in our estimated resolution so that we complied with the rule that if you appropriate more than what you're bringing in, you've gotta do all these crazy things, so. For temporary, but permanent one, we are able to go ahead and add those additional dollar amounts in there, so.
So that would be next
I
meeting?
will show you, Chuck, what that is. All that is just, so we originally had put in, I believe, somewhere around 600,000, where our actual appropriation, is gonna be right around $1 million, so. Just so you guys know that, that's coming, not coming this week, coming next week. Everything else that we discussed, and we put those numbers in when we went, department by department, those numbers will stay the same. And then,
We did 941. We did 941, which is what I'm showing, unless that was changed.
yes, and, we're gonna go up to like $1.5 million.
One, like 3 zeros and a 5, or 1500?
1, 2 zeros and a 5. 1,005,000.
So about $65,000 more.
Correct.
Okay.
So that information will be available for next meeting?
Yeah,
Okay.
I actually have the information available now. You can look at, I'll have, this is actually what we kind of talked about and everything like that originally, and now we lowered it to pass it to begin with, and now we'll bring it up to where we thought it was gonna be originally.
Okay.
It's more of a housekeeping thing than anything else.
Legal advisor, do you have anything?
I have nothing to report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right, we have, I see the, oh, there we go.
All right. Dwight, are you there?
Dwight, you're still muted.
That better?
There we go.
There we
Yes.
go. Good morning,
Okay.
Dwight. This is Mike. Dwight, you're going to be talking with the trustees about what you and I and Matt talked about last week with the closed landfill and what it would
Sure.
entail on our part. So I'm
Okay.
gonna- Go ahead.
Well, I don't know how much background you've given him, Mike, but I'm going to give him a little bit here.
Okay.
We were approached by an Ohio EPA representative who works with the Division of Solid Waste. He's familiar with both sites, OU 13 and the Osborne landfill in the Menor Marsh. And basically, he asked the question, would the township consider reopening the landfill specifically for taking the waste from the Marsh project? They're talking about 300,000 tons of material. The waste itself is fly ash, salt, off-spec salt from Morton went in here, and kiln dust. So basically, the reason the agency approached me, to approach you folks was, they're looking for the most cost-effective way to dispose of the waste. Your facility or closed facility is the closest to it. And they have a settlement with Osborne, but it's they have a budget they have to work with. So that was kind of their thinking on why they wanted to look at this or have us consider it. The benefit for the township would be, generating income to actually install, a BAT cap at the facility.
What's a BAT cap?
It would be basically the cap that best available technology is what that stands for.
Okay.
But with the existing plans, we're working with the OEP on basically a soil cap to restore like a 2% grade at the facility. This would be like a state-of-the-art cap that basically should eliminate any problems. It would also, the thought being, cap the entire site, not just the plateau, which is what is proposed with what we're discussing with the OEPA right now. And my guess is your next question is what would this cost? Because that's the intriguing part of this. A cap that we're talking on, basically the site's 20 acres, would be about 3.2 million with materials and to install it. But keep in mind, if you're charging like $15 a ton and it's 300,000 tons, you're going to generate about 4.5 million. So that should cover your cost on that. And the additional money, you're going to need to have somebody operate this site while they're bringing the waste in. And you're also going to have probably some long-term monitoring costs that are going to be associated with it, after everything's finished up. The next question likely is going to be, how do we do this? To reopen it, we need to get an O2G exemption from the director of the Ohio EPA. We'd submit it, he'd have to approve it. I'm attempting to get some clarification on what is required with that right now. the OEPA likely would put some terms on that, and I just wanted to touch on some of these real quick. They would likely let us open it specifically for this project. That would be it, so we couldn't take in any other waste streams. They would want some control or assurances that the funds would strictly go in for, the reclosing of this site. There would likely be some limited groundwater monitoring, but keep in mind the site already has an existing groundwater monitoring network, and we do have some data that's been collected out there by the PRP group. And we would put a limit on that. To give you an idea, like on a typical landfill, there's 30 years of post-closure care. We're going to say 5. We need to limit that exposure. And the intent being, we're going to demonstrate that the waste isn't impacting the groundwater any worse than it already was. Explosive gas monitoring is something that they're very keen on these days. But the waste we're bringing in should not generate any gas. So in theory, we aren't going to do any. We will not do any monitoring for explosive gas. And in a nutshell, that's kind of what we have. And if the next question is, is this something that the township would want to consider moving forward on?
So some
Dwight?
questions. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Sure, go ahead.
Dwight, is there any concern about the EPA approving or allowing the salt to be placed that close to the river?
Well, we already have elevated chloride and sodium in there. The nice thing about it is the salt would be placed on top of the existing waste. So it's well above the water, any groundwater that we might expose it to. And the FML cap would basically eliminate, it's a flexible membrane cap would be what we would install as a part of the BAT capping system. Basically, it's going to eliminate recharge through. So we shouldn't have that leaching through. Another consideration here that the agency has brought up is trying to recycle the salt. They talk about thicknesses of about over 10 foot of salt in the Menor Marsh site. If you folks want to try and crush it and screen it, in theory, you could recycle it or reuse it at your facilities or try and sell it. But that's a consideration. But there you have it.
So, a couple questions. So the estimated 300,000 tons of material, that includes the salt,
Yes.
right? And it sounds like Kurtz Brothers is interested from a contracting side as whoever gets the Menor Marsh project of taking the material and trying to process it for reuse, which would mean less material going into landfill and less revenue, potentially.
Dwight?
Potentially.
Okay. Are you aware of Kurtz Brothers, Dwight, having an interest in the salt?
I know that I'm aware that Kurtz Brother has an interest. I'm aware that Waste Management Geneva has an interest in it. I'm also aware of the fact that American Waste Management Services has an interest in it. We're proposing to team with Great Lakes Construction on this right now because we're putting our hat in with the bidding process over there because there's a lot of folks with interest in the Menor Marsh project.
And Jason Ziss, are you on the line? Jason from Kurtz Brothers?
I am on the line, yes.
Okay. If you have information and you want to jump in anywhere, feel free. All right, so it sounds like there's quite a bit of interest in the salt material, so that would be most likely not transported to the landfill. So not as advantageous cost-wise or revenue-wise for us. Dwight, could you talk about right? So our landfill was closed. Mike, was it 76 or 7?
76.
Right. So 76. The little bit I know, that's a big year, right? You closed the landfill before 76. That's a big difference between before or after with the regulations. Is that correct?
Yeah, actually, like 90, pre-90 was the big date, because that's when the subtitle D came out, which really upgraded what the landfill requirements were. A lot of folks that went past that deadline, were pushed into 30-year post-closure care with groundwater monitoring and explosive gas monitoring.
Okay, so, but you were saying if we applied to reopen, we would apply with the condition of a 5-year?
We would try and well, basically, we're going to negotiate with the agency that we aren't going to do 30 years post-closure care. This is a one-time opening for this specific waste stream. Because it helps you folks out from a standpoint that, it's a win-win for the agency to some extent and for you folks. Because they've got a area close to the facility, and it's going to help pay for a state-of-the-art cap. So that's kind of where that's coming from.
Is there what's the downside for us as the township long term? Are we going to be held to higher standards? Are we going to be on the hook for additional?
Well, that's the way this would be designed. I've worked on a project similar to this. It was a C&DD site that brought in solid waste, and they were basically ordered to close. But orders were basically, it was negotiated that their post-closure period would be reduced to like 5 years. I think that would work at this facility. The cap is the big thing. It's gonna eliminate the seeps issues that we have on those slopes close to the river. And I mean, basically, I think you aren't going to have to worry about the site for the next 20 to 30 years. It'll be pretty impressive.
So, and I think I know the answer to this, but right, so, you're saying a cost of $3.2 million for a cap, some additional money to operate. If we charge 15 a ton, generate about $4.5 million, might be some money left over. Is there anybody out there that would like to make a profit and take this off our hands, and and purchase the landfill site for $1, and then they could charge whatever they wanted to store the material there and keep the profit for themselves?
One of the problems that you're going to run into is I've been talking to some folks with solid waste, but your facility is currently regulated by DUR and is still included with the Diamond Shamrock site. So they're going to be involved with this. The agency is going to be involved with this even after we're done with all our monitoring requirements. The most that you could hope for is that maybe there's some money left overs and they'll release them to you at the end of the day. So I don't think you're going to find someone that's going to want to take on. Granted, I have seen people buy Superfund sites and sheriff sales, but that's typically doesn't happen.
Okay.
So I don't know if they would be able to release you from the PRP though. You know what I'm saying? Even though that we would have, we did something like that, we would want to make sure that we got released from being a PRP.
Okay. I was just looking at, is there a way that we can be done?
Oh, I
and
agree
if
with you
somebody
1,000%.
if somebody can make $500,000 on it,
I would let maybe the Ohio EPA wants to take it over. Let them do it. Wash out, give us a hold harmless.
Lake County, Solid Waste District.
They refused to sell the waste from the marsh.
I meant, would they take over I don't know. Would they take over operation of our site?
I don't know.
So I like the idea of if we can generate revenue to do the cap with the best available technology, long-term solution. Even better would be, that gets done and we're out of it 100% somehow. But
Yeah, that's our goal.
It would be very surprising to me if anyone would take this landfill off our site, since the future development is really limited. You can make some money off this project, I suppose, but then there's no development in the future. So I don't know, but to
Okay.
somebody to just come along and say, we'll finish this up for you, I'd be surprised.
Question. So Dwight,
Yeah.
this is Chuck Hillier. The materials that would go in there would be the salt. Did I hear you say fly ash and other materials?
Kiln dust.
Kiln dust? What
Yeah, it would have been from the cement processing or generation activities.
But it sounds like salt would be, people, people interested in the salt material, so they might try to harvest as much of that as possible.
Well, let me give you a little bit. They've actually, the agencies had ODOT run, test the salt. It's off spec right now. So, it didn't meet their requirements, ODOT's. I don't know exactly what that means, but they did do testing for that, just to let you know.
Fly ash, though, is that included? Just out of curiosity? Okay.
Fly ash is in there as well, that's correct.
So is there any preference from the Ohio EPA understanding the importance of getting the proper cap on our landfill I mean, if somebody tried to underbid us, is there any preference that we would get in the ultimate big picture that they would want, or is that not part of what they look at?
That typically isn't what they're looking at. I mean, they're right now there's an RFQ on the street. They're going to shortlist 3 bidders to submit proposals, and they're looking for innovative ideas, such as recycling the salts, or, this is an innovative idea with reopening this facility.
So I heard the $15 number. Is that like a standard fee that would go on in today's climate, or?
No, I'm going to back up on that one, because let's say you're just taking a roll-off box to a landfill. That would be like American landfill or countywide. They're charging up to $40 a ton. I'm not exactly sure where Geneva is on their standard costs for disposal. But that's going to come out as a part of this bidding process, because they're going to be providing numbers. They will provide discounts based on the volume, because this is a good size slug of waste that they'd be taking. So,
How does it get weighed? Would we have to purchase weighing scales for these trucks?
well, you wouldn't necessarily have to purchase it, but might want to consider leasing one.
I had a follow-up question. Hold on. What was that? No, go to you, Bill. Maybe I didn't. Go ahead, Bill.
Dwight, did I understand you to say that there's a number that the EPA has to, a budget to work with, and any money that was above and beyond the expenses had to be used strictly for landfill use? In other words, this wouldn't be a profit to the general fund? The money had to be always used for the landfill?
That would be a condition that my guess they would put on you. I'm not exactly sure about these conditions, but my guess is that's what they would put on you folks.
We'd have expenses there anyway.
Yeah, that would give you money for the future, so it really is interesting.
So I guess my follow-up point, you mentioned the going rate, and then if there's other disposal sites, I got to think trucking would be a big cost.
That is a huge cost.
So our site would be fairly close. So they would.
About 10 minutes, I think.
Yeah. So trucking, in theory, trucking cost would be down. So the price we would charge per cubic yard or ton, whatever, could be higher. And we'd still be cheaper than a neighboring site that has larger trucking costs.
That's correct.
So would the landfill would be contingent, if we got the reopening would be contingent upon whoever was selected for the Menor Marsh project coming to an agreement to use our landfill site?
That would be correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we would need to talk to the bidders and provide this as an option. If Kurtz Brother is already aware of it, they know it's an option too.
Okay.
I
wonder if the EPA would consider separating out the disposal, or we could get our own separate contract.
Well, that was my next question. Who would be paying the bill? Would a contractor be responsible for paying?
Yeah,
Or-
that's usually how this would be set up, because it would be, the contractor would be the lead. You would be operating the landfill, they would be trucking it in, dropping it off. You would have requirements with respect to, spreading the waste, compacting it. There'd be a daily or cover requirement for it. But yeah, they would be ultimately paying you, the contractor would.
Okay. Could we, in theory, I mean, this is putting the cart before the horse, I guess, but in theory, as part of the agreement with the contractor, it's X dollars per ton. In addition, you supply one person and this particular machine on site for the duration?
That is not unheard of.
Okay.
What do you think? There's any possibility that we could separate out the landfill part of it, so that we would just work directly with the EPA on it, and it would be an overall project where we know for sure that the costs are covered to clean this whole thing. No, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. No,
Where
100%.
they could hire because we don't know how to hire trucking and for us to go through and try to recreate the landfill business, which we know nothing about. It would seem that if, for the EPA's purposes, if that site is desirable for them, then maybe they could separate that part of it out and say, you will dispose of your material here at this site, and then they just take over the whole process of the monitoring, the whole bit, because ultimately that saves them money with the project they're trying to do over at the Menor Marsh. You know what I'm saying? Does that make any sense for us to approach the EPA directly?
I know they've gone down this path right now with this bidding process. I mean, my understanding is they've been working on the marsh since the 80s. Evaluating it, and it's finally come to a head. They've came up with the settlement. But basically they've opened it up, for the contractors or consultants to bid on the work, to pretty much do what you're talking about, to manage the excavation, the disposal, the transport, and get all that set up. You can approach them on this, but I don't know if they're going to take it on, because they're going to say, well, we don't want to deal with it. We'll let, that's my general read on them. Is they will delegate readily. So,
because we would have to. My thoughts, just mine. We would probably approach Lake County Solid Waste District and say, "Hey, we would like to subcontract to you to operate this landfill during this period of time, right? When Phil's going in, we'd like to contract with you to have somebody from your department there to oversee and operate, because they know what they're doing. We don't know what we're doing with the landfill. And I would trust Tim over there in the county to not take advantage.
At this point, I think they've answered our questions. No?
What's that?
I think we're getting into more details at this point than we need to. How much more? I think from the basic purpose of what he's explaining. I'm just saying, I think he's answered our questions from where we need to be at this point, and everything else we're getting for another conversation. Right. So either you're interested or you're not, if I'm following this correctly. And I would say for myself, I'm very interested in exploring it.
Be interested if we can get it.
Yeah, to get a cap on this thing is ridiculously expensive.
Right.
And if this is an option,
Yeah.
then we're interested in being a competitive player, a very competitive player to bring it to fruition. And then we can work the details out if this goes forward. Is that correct? Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely interested.
I think one of the things going to be is that if we're interested, and these guys got to put together their request for a proposal, the contractor, if it's part of their bid, is going to need to know what our numbers are going to be.
So we could work that out in executive session, correct? That's not a public
Well, I mean,
discussion.
isn't that something that they would? Isn't that something that you would assist with?
Yes.
In executive session.
And I mean, the one thing that, the next
No.
step that we need to provide you with is a cost to get the O2G exemption moving forward here. I'll work with Mike on that and get something pulled together so you can, basically we'll have a work scope and a cost to get that process moving.
If
Does that
this-
make sense?
If this is a competitive bid, and I'm sitting here, I mean, our legal advisor just stepped out of the door for a moment, but if this is a competitive bid and you have a competitor sitting on the line, you don't have this conversation publicly, so it would have to take place in executive session pending his approval, of course. But I can't see how it wouldn't be.
I would agree.
I would defer to.
Yeah, defer to as soon as he gets back, Jeremy, but
Well, I mean,
Jason's on the line.
But yeah, we wouldn't want to have yeah. That would be an executive session.
sure, but I'm saying costs and all those things. That's not something we're going to determine. What do we know?
Correct. Yeah.
Well, they would advise us, professionally speaking, but that would not be made public because it's a public bid. Otherwise, the gentleman sitting on the phone is going to put $1 under and get the bid.
Is it a price bid only, or do they consider other factors?
You basically, they're running the RFQ, request for qualifications, they'll select 3 bidders. I think cost is going to be, one of the key considerations.
Okay, future discussion.
Okay.
Okay. Dwight, do you have any questions for us? Do we have a good enough discussion? You kind of know where we're sitting?
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Okay. Jason, since you're on the line, I mean, any questions, any thoughts, input?
I did just have one point of clarity. So any revenue from the project over the cap costs could not be used in the general fund. It would have to be strictly used for the landfill.
That would be, my guess, one of the stipulations that the agency would put on this project. Now, the way it would work is they're probably going to require some post-monitoring activities. So they would want to make sure that those funds are available to cover those costs. Yeah, and then basically after that was finished up, any of that post-capping activities, typically they'll release those funds back. Should be released back to the township if there's any funds left over. But that's typically how I've seen this work. They'll release that after the agency is satisfied.
Dwight, I think you even said, this cap might last, we might not have to talk about it for 20, 30 years, but while we won't be, I hope to be around, but maybe not at this table in 30 years, somebody will be, and somebody will be responsible. So, if there's money somewhere for that 30 years down the road, then so be it. Okay.
So we're at a good point for now, guys?
Yes.
I think so.
All right, Dwight, Jason, thanks for joining us and helping out. Dwight, we'll talk some more.
All right.
Gonna move
Sounds
on
good.
to our agenda, okay?
Thanks, guys. Take care.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Any well, we can come back. Fire chief.
Executive
Oh,
session at some point.
Mike, are you done?
Yes, I am.
Do we want to talk at all about the NOPEC grant? Did you get window estimates or?
Well, I'm still accumulating them.
Okay.
I've got 3 that are so far apart that I'm getting a 4th this afternoon to
Okay.
have good idea. So I'm still collecting the information. Jeff.
Okay.
We need to go to executive session at some point, because we're gonna have to vote on salaries.
Yes.
Okay.
So in addition, just back to the NOPEC thing, so in your report, you made mention that I suggested metal roof on a pavilion. I was thinking metal roof on the building that Bill wants to build. Not
Okay,
a- Well, not like a, park pavilion, but this was a, an expense that we think we're gonna incur doing a building. If we can do a metal roof to use grant funding instead of service department money, that could be a bonus.
okay. Yeah, I didn't say it well in the report, but the metal roof, if it meets no PEX requirements, would be an approved expense. At this point, I'm really chasing more than we could ever do. We're either going to do the sign or we're gonna do everything else. There's not gonna be much else besides
So,
the
I
sign.
mean, I thought we pretty much decided that windows and stuff were gonna come first anyway,
Yeah,
so.
I guess I don't see how the sign is energy efficient, how we would use a energy efficiency grant.
Well, it's been done,
for
that's the
Well, it's
fact.
been done, but
So,
there's no, it's not gonna save us money or make us more energy efficient. So, windows, metal roof. I sent out, Chief looked at some of the washers and dryers at the stations. They're getting up there in age. Maybe we replace them at 2 of the stations, and then Station 2 had something newer that they just get the best of the old stuff. Those are thoughts as well. But yeah, I guess we're still waiting, on window numbers. Okay.
I will have them at the next meeting. I'm getting another quote today. It's just,
They're that far.
Tom give you his quote or no?
pardon me?
Did Tom give you his quote?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Now, Frank.
All right, first the good news. We had a call on January 14th for chest pain here at station, from the guys at Station 1. Normally with somebody, if they think it's a heart attack, they'll transport them to West. That's where the cardiac doctors, cath lab, things like that are, so they, that's the best place to take them. Well, they got almost to West, and then West, I guess they had a couple of emergencies in their cath lab, so they were tied up. They had to divert the guys. They said, okay, can't bring them here, take them to Hillcrest. Well, that's not unusual, happens once in a while. But what was unusual, they got right to Mayfield and 271, and Hillcrest diverted them.
Jeez.
They were full. So they ended up taking this guy. It was like a 40-minute transport for somebody that was having a bad heart attack. Not great. But they did well. They kept giving him medication and taking care of him the whole trip. They ended up taking him to Cleveland Clinic downtown. Anyways, the outcome's good. The guy got a cath. Everything turned out good, and he's doing fine. But the reason I'm bringing it up here is our guys got an award from the Cleveland Clinic. They came out, gave them certificates and challenge coins, and so it was kind of a big deal for the clinic, because that's something that never happens, and especially to have to get, basically 3 diversions to
Yeah.
get somebody to a place where they can be taken care of. So anyways, that's they did get an award for that. That's the good news. All right, and we got the new Durango that's over there. They're going to be getting that ready to let her up.
Chief, who were the
So-
firefighters on that, can I ask?
Sure. It was Lieutenant Mike Schaff, Chris Patriarca, Joe Bissell, and Eric Schreibman, who was in training at the time.
I mean, did they were all transporting? Were they
Actually,
doing
no,
stumping in the back?
Actually, Lieutenant Schaff came back to the station to cover the station.
Okay.
But the other 3 transported. Because normally we'd probably send 2 people like that at minimum. And Eric Schreiben, being a trainee at the time, went with them. He rode in the back with them. So it was a good experience for him. too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right, huh?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Very cool.
So, we picked up the new Dodge Durango. They'll be lettering it up and doing the lights and all that. We'll do all that in-house for that. 23 of the frontline engine at Station 2, the new fire engine that we had to send back to Sutphen. That's done. We can pick it up. We are going to pick it up probably today, but we canceled that and probably do it tomorrow. Then we're going to drop off our ladder truck, hopefully. One of the guys backed our ladder truck into the building when he was backing in over the weekend at 4 a.m. on Sunday. It dented the bumper, that much we know, but unfortunately ladder trucks, even though they're big and massive pieces of equipment, they're very sensitive as far as anything that gets tweaked on the frame, anything like that, your ladder is out of service. It has to be, retested, everything has to be gone over, make sure that you can still put this in the air safely. So it's got to go back to Sutphen and get all the work done to it.
The ladder was hit,
He backed into the building, hit the building backing in.
but you said the bumper got damaged, but the ladder did as well?
No, the ladder's fine.
They've got to inspect the whole
But
truck.
they have to, because there's.
Recertify
the way the bumper
it.
hit and the frame's damaged underneath, they have to re-inspect everything and probably do make sure there's a thing in the back called a subframe that sticks off the back that might even need replaced.
What's that gonna cost us, approximately?
I turned it over to insurance, so it's.
Yeah, that should be covered by insurance.
Yes, yeah, the insurance is already on it, they've been out, they've looked at it, so our deductible, I think, is $500.
So
How do we prevent something like that from
Yes.
happening in the
He's
future?
gonna go through training again, he can't, I'm meeting with him today, actually, today's his shift when we get done here. He will have a letter of reprimand, he will have to go through mandatory training, he can't drive an engine until he goes through all the training, yeah.
I was gonna say, so this is an education opportunity, 100%.
Right, and he also, we have a process for, anytime you back in a station, you have to have a backer. And it was 4 a.m., he didn't do it. He didn't follow the procedure, so,
Is there video cameras on the back?
oh yeah,
Okay. I guess on the bright side, we only need to send one person down to Columbus to take this down
yeah,
and pick up
because
the
he
other
can
one?
swap out with the trucks, yeah, that's the bright side. And we got, and Sean's on light duty, he can drive, but he can't
Costing
lift
us the same
anything.
in
So
labor.
Sean will be doing it on light duty, taking it down and bringing it back.
So another question. So the truck's backing in, there's supposed to be a spotter, there wasn't.
There was
There's
not.
also a video camera on the back of the truck.
Right.
Is there, like, I know when I pull my truck in, I know right where to stop because it tells me the back
Yeah, no,
end is in.
This doesn't have the red marks and the gauge on it like my car does, no. But,
Is there a marking, and I'm just trying to visualize how far, what station was this?
Station 3,
Oh,
with the
station.
16-foot doorways, yes, that's the one.
So it just seems like this is just,
It's an accident.
Well, it's
yeah,
not only
but,
an accident, but he was
and
not, this was preventable.
yeah, that's what I mean, careless,
Yeah,
it was a
preventable.
careless accident.
And he will, get the consequences. He's gonna have to go through the training, do an EVT class, do everything again before he's allowed to drive again.
So all of that aside, and,
Yeah.
and I'm not trying to beat anybody up, I'm just trying to think, okay, so Joe Blow does it next time. What prevents him from doing the same thing? From a process improvement standpoint, I know in my job, if we screw something up, not good terminology, but we ask the question why 6 times. Well, why did it happen? Okay, well, because he backed into the wall. Well, why did he back into the wall? Because there wasn't a spotter. Why wasn't there a spotter? Not a good answer. But anyhow, in the quality system program, as we have, you ask why 6 times to put a plan in place to prevent it from happening again. So is all of that going to take place? Because it very well could happen again. Somebody else makes a mistake,
Right.
and I understand it's an accident. Things happen, and that's why we have insurance. I mean, I get it. I've even backed into my garage wall, but I don't have to take it to Columbus to get re-inspected.
Right.
So I'm just looking for that reassurance that the process is being evaluated.
Sounds like the process wasn't even
That's what I
followed.
mean, it just seems like a simple
Right,
fix,
it's
the guy
got
didn't
it.
do what
Yeah.
he's supposed to do.
You got a spotter, the spotter says stop.
I think this guy got complacent.
Yeah, there you go,
It's
right.
4 a.m. and he's just gonna back in and go back to bed, and you know what? You can't do that. You gotta follow procedure every time. And I think actually this woke a lot of guys up on, oh shit, this can't happen, so.
Right.
Was it a full-time employee or part-time? Can I
Full-time
say that?
employee.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Full-time employee, yep. Which he, like I said, he won't be a driver until he can go through all the training again, so. Which means he gets to be patient care in the back of the squad, which is not their favorite position, whatever. All right. All right, we have a bill here, you'll see it for American Sign on Madison Avenue. That's for lettering and decaling and putting all this signage, if you will, and the striping on let's see, all of our new vehicles, not just it's for the new squad that we bought, the new engine, and the new pickup truck. So it's for 3 different vehicles, so it's, if you see the price and go, what the heck, he hadn't billed us for quite a while. I finally called him and said, "You gonna bill us for these things?" He goes, "Oh yeah, I'll put it all together. It's 3 trucks." I'm like, okay.
What about the Durango?
The Durango, probably, I'm guessing we're just gonna put decals on it. And
Okay.
And you guys can do that in-house, just get
we'll
the
do
decal
that
and put it
in-house,
on?
yeah. The engines and the squads, actually, that was the rebuilt squad, the
The new squad and the new
the
engine?
new squad and the other one.
Okay, I was thinking it was the pickup for.
He did the pickup truck too, so it was actually 4,
okay.
yeah.
And then we'll do Gordon's.
We'll do Gordon's, we'll do this one. The cars we generally do, I think, he was there doing the squad, so he threw some stripes on it, but that's,
Okay.
the other, mostly that's from the other thing, or
Okay.
from the other vehicles. All right, yes. Okay, we had First Class Construction has been working at Station 2, they've got all that done. I put a thing in there, on my report. They've come up with a option to put a restroom in the back with a shower. Price is gonna be $30,000. They've already,
2 or 1?
well, he put 2, that's gonna be over 50. I said, no, he cut it down to 1. And so it's just gonna be the one, the far one, and it's gonna be around 30,000. Actually less than 30, probably. So do we wanna move forward with that? I think we did put, that's the 30,000 I put into, for the budget this year. For the
That's Station 2.
Yeah,
Can we hold off until we discuss further about a bathroom for the park to see if there's a way that somehow, if we're gonna move plumbing or do plumbing, if there's a way to back it up against the wall and make it work off of each other to save on either project, it would make sense versus doing it and then having, finding out we could have tied it, back to back, so to speak, out the back wall and tied it in and saved some money on both projects.
okay. Yeah.
Just kinda.
When do you think you'll know something on that?
Well, I mean, we've gonna get going on that park this year because we have, 70,000 sitting around? How much do we've got in total from Lubrizol?
Do you want to have this contractor give us a quote for that?
Hang on. How much?
We have 80,000 we've received. We have another 25,000 committed.
So Lubrizol committed 80,
They committed 80.
and we haven't gotten all of it yet,
Oh,
right?
no, we've gotten 30, I think. Right around 30.
Well, they gave us a first payment and then 2-year payment the next time, so we got 3 years worth of payments in, correct? And then we got
yes.
the 12,500 from my dad, that he
Right.
sent that. I need to give my 2,500, so that'd be 15.
And 10 from Classic.
Well, Classic's going to that
here.
one for the pavilion. That's added.
In that case, then you've got the numbers right.
Okay, so let's see how much we have, but nonetheless, we've gotten money, so we have to get started here on the project. The rest is committed, so their Lubrizol will pay us, even if it's in arrears, so we can complete the project. So we've got the land basically cleared, so it's time to start mapping it out and getting moving. So that's what I wanna do. Jem has already stated that they will probably gonna help, with the pavilion over there, try to use their vendors so that we can do that at no cost to the township. They're gonna donate maybe the labor and then try to get the different materials donated from their vendors to try to do that at a zero for us. So, and then I'm gonna approach that company as well to see if they're willing to do something, maybe with the bathrooms. That's why I wanted, before you went with that project, let's have a discussion on what we're gonna do and see if we can get them involved with that part of it, to see if there's some, if they're willing to donate, and see if they can also use their vendors to donate some of the materials for the bathrooms for it, that kind of thing. So I'll get with you soon so we can go over that, see where the idea is to put that, meet with them, tell them what we wanna do, and see if there's a way to,
Yeah, even if it's, do the bathrooms in the station and get the plumbing set
Correct.
for the
Right.
future. Because it'd be nice to get that bathroom redone and then as part of the project, also then refresh the other shower and restroom.
Okay.
So I'll get with you
Yeah,
this
locker
next
room
week
area,
here or
so.
something, and we can go from there, and we'll talk to them and see if.
Okay. Ed, you want me to ask this guy too if he would look at something on the outside, or you wanna stick with Gems? That's it.
No. Jem's gonna do the pavilion and stuff, and that's what I'm saying. We'll get with him to see, hey, this is what we're doing. You willing to do anything? Go to bat for us with your vendors to see if you can get some materials donated, that kind of thing, and
Okay,
take it from there.
okay, very good.
Okay.
Gabe, Lubrizol has paid us 60,000 so far.
Okay, that's right. So their last 20,000 is coming. That's it, and then so we have 60, 72. So we have 75,000 of the
And
95.
Lubrizol will still pay an additional 20.
That's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
So we have 75 of the original 95, and we have 20 more coming. Right. Okay.
And
Okay.
we also have, I don't know if it's still an option or not, but we have the old playset from Madison Avenue sitting behind
It's,
somewhere.
yeah, station.
Yeah, we talked about that, but
Whether it's at Haddon, somewhere,
yeah, we'll
it
see.
was not very old.
Right.
so.
There's I've been looking. There's quite a few grants out there that price match on the investment on new sets. So if you buy a $30,000 set or $50,000 set, you put 25. The grant will pay the other 25. So I think as a last resort we'll use that, but we'll
Well, we could-
explore.
yeah.
Especially since this was sold on the premise of having some handicap accessibility as well, which that set doesn't
No,
provide.
but over here at Haddon, it
Sure.
could be a possibility.
But we don't need to get into that until they say they're tearing down what they have over there. That's kind of where we're at with Haddon at this point, I think. Wait until the school says, the idea was,
Yeah.
wait until they say, all right, or whoever uses that land says no more, then that we would address a new playground,
The longer it sits there, the more likely it is to
Right.
go, is my only thought, so.
Okay.
All right, with the new ventilation systems we had put in the exhaust systems for the trucks, that's in and running. But then everything was in, the electrical guy came out to hook everything up, and apparently it's three-phase. I don't know anything about that stuff, but anyways, the three-phase is, here at Station 1 is no problem, because of the way, this is like a more commercial area, they have a higher, they can take the three-phase electric, no problem, I guess we have it. Station 2 did not, so they have to put in some kind of like transformer there.
And the supplier that we bought this from,
They didn't know
They never
that?
told us anything.
Well, how do they not know that when they go to bid on a project that they're gonna put in three-phase and you only have single-phase available?
Well,
Or two-phase available? That's like, that's just
Right.
ridiculous.
well, they didn't ask us that when we got the pricing for the thing, and the installation we had done by a local company, and he did the duct work and he hired out the electrical, so.
Wait time out,
Yeah,
time out.
that's-
That's just,
the company.
that's malpractice, for God's sakes, on whoever, not anybody with us, chief. I don't expect you to know that.
Right.
But when you bring in a contractor and then they bid you out for a project and they bid a three-phase and you don't have three-phase available, my God, that's like the first question you ask.
Well-
You ask yourself and then you inspect. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, that seems a bit,
There's no reason for
erroneous.
that. So who's the company?
Right, well, the company that's putting it in the system is Lanigan Heating.
but that's not the
I don't wanna
issue.
throw them under the
No,
bus,
the
and I'll
issue
tell
is-
you why, because they've never installed one of these, they did it as a favor to us.
But the issue is the company we bought the product from and the ducting.
Did
and-
not tell us that.
See, that's
Right.
who the issue
The
should be
company
with,
we
right?
hired was separate to install it, and they'd never done one of these, but they've done some heating work, a lot of heating work, and they said they would do this for us, but,
So it sounds like it was,
The manufacturer.
Well,
we chose the wrong installer.
communication.
it possibly, yeah, I mean,
And I'm
Uh,
not
what-
placing
what kind of
blame, I'm
additional
just saying
costs?
that it,
Sure.
it sounds like it was, we tried to save money, so we went with somebody that
Well,
would help us out and
we're-
do it, so we didn't go to a,
right, we're still gonna save a lot of money from what they were gonna install. They were gonna still charge us twice as much as this guy to install it. The only thing that he wants the electrician to make this work, he's installing a transformer, which is $3,500. That's what we're looking at, the difference, 3,500. So it's still half the amount that they wanted to charge us. They wanted to charge us 14,000, and this guy did it for 5. So I
Will
mean,
that transformer be able to be used for other things besides that, or
I
is
mean,
that?
it's we'll have 3 phase at the station. I mean, if we need it for anything else.
So
Okay.
that's probably why. They wanted 14,000 because they were gonna do it right,
Well,
and we
Well,
didn't.
no, they were sending guys.
they were
up,
sending guys
hotel
here. We're gonna have to
stays,
pay for the
meals.
hotel.
I understand, but what I'm getting at is
Right.
that probably included what we
You
now
get
have
what
to
you
pay
pay for.
Well, and it will. I mean, this will. It has to be stepped up the electric to make it work.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is at this point.
And
but-
do we need electrical
you're-
upgrades over there anyway?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Right down. That's what we're gonna have to look at down the road on both of these stations. We have old Federal Pacific, switch boxes and stuff that'll have to be changed out at some point.
So this transformer for the 3-phase would be able to be reused?
Oh yeah, it's not gonna.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we're not,
No, we're not gonna put any money on it twice. This is it.
Okay.
This gets done and this will finish the project, and but it does increase it quite a bit.
So that'll give us 3-phase for the whole building.
Yes, it will. Yeah. Yeah.
what runs on 3-phase?
Well,
Obviously,
drill
something.
press maybe.
Yeah, okay.
You never know.
Right.
I mean, a welder. Or
But at least
something?
it's
I
not
don't
just
know.
for that unit, I mean,
Yeah.
you're doing it
So-
just solely for that. If you're upgrading the whole
Yeah,
building
we
to
do need to upgrade
3-phase,
the
then that's a
electricity
little bit
for
better.
that to
And it's
happen.
only $3,500. It's not like you're
All right.
talking 20 or 30,000.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
All right. That's it. Thanks.
We still need to get to executive
What
session,
did I say?
but
Karma, baby, karma.
No, I'm just thinking from my job at Lubrizol. I mean, I do electrical work, I do electronics work, and so when you go from 3-phase to 2-phase, I'm okay. But when I go from 2-phase to 3-phase, I start getting concerns, big concerns.
I
And
would
so
think the supplier would know that.
I'm not an electrician. And so I don't do this sort of work in my day-to-day job, but I've been around it enough
Right.
to know that there's red flags, and I don't know what to ask at this point here, but I do have concerns based on things I've seen in my professional job. So maybe it's not a big deal, but boy, it sure is it's putting my hairs on end right now here in this conversation
Well,
for things that we don't know.
Okay, so look at it from the manufacturer side. He says, here, this is the product you're buying. He knows it's a 3-phase, okay? Now you have someone that's coming in here. He's going to install it for us. As he's installing us, he says, hey, this is a 3-phase. You only got 2-phase here.
Well, who
He had
spec'd
the
it out?
electrical guy come out and said, yeah, we can do this, no problem, but didn't tell him or us that it was gonna be, $3,500 to have this done, so. To get the electrical changed over so they can to operate the system.
So the manufacturer sent out somebody to look at our electrical and
No,
didn't?
they
Oh.
didn't come out. We took pictures and sent it down to them, and they bid off of pictures. They didn't come out.
And how much extra for them to send their guys out, what would that have been?
Well, I don't remember right now. I believe theirs were 14,000 to have that done, and we paid 5.
So 8.5. So
Okay.
we saved.
We
Plus-
paid less than half. Well, even at the
So I'm
3,500 for
saying
the
8.5.
electric,
We're gonna be
Right.
8.5.
we're still half.
Right.
We saved $5,500
Right.
bucks.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So it's probably, don't really want to blame the local guy.
No,
The
which
other
just sounds like
guys-
we went with an inexperienced company that didn't really know what they were looking at.
He'd never installed one of these.
Right, so it's-
Admittedly, yes.
And the good news is that at least we got 3-phase for everything there
Yeah.
now. So at least
mean,
it's not just, we need it just for that
Is
unit.
what it is, right?
Yeah.
Bill,
Okay, the bids came in for our paving project and our OPWC concrete project, and Chagrin Valley Paving got the project to do all of the asphalt work. We had a budget of $300,000 that we were gonna use from the levy, and then we had the $113,000 that the county had given us last year that we were going to use this year. So we were at 413, engineer's estimate was in around 420. The bids, our cost is gonna be 344, so
Good.
we're gonna be about $70,000 less than what we had intended to spend. Perry Township is going to pay for their portion of Bartwood. We are going to pay the contractor. Perry Township is going to pay us. That's the way that's going to work. Because us and Concord were in the bid, Perry was not.
And Perry, I mean, their share's 6,000-ish. I mean, it's small, so.
Yeah, so.
Okay. So that savings basically all comes out of our back end of our 300 that we had put to that. We've still got all the other monies.
Yes.
Okay.
Sitting
So
there
that gives
for
us
another
more money
job.
for the future.
Yep.
Okay. Painesville City contacted me last week. They have a salt storage facility that is kind of a lean-to with 2 bays. One of the bays collapsed.
Leaning too
And-
much.
And the only thing that's holding that side up is the salt that's in it. So they had ordered, they're capable of storing 200 ton per each side. They had 400 tons ordered when this happened, so they needed a place to store some salt. We had room. I told them they could bring it over and put it in. They only brought 7 dump truck loads the other day. They're able to use the salt now because of the weather quick enough that they can replenish it. But if they get in a pinch where they need to store some salt with us, I'm okay with it.
Charge them 30% more because of the maintenance cost to store that salt.
Add that to our list of all the, add that to our list of all the things we helped them with.
It's not gonna be an issue for us.
Right.
I was going to reach out to the city
Good.
manager at some point just to check in with them where they are on their electric rate discussion and then remind him of this, of be neighborly.
Okay. The Public Works Director and I will work that out among us, and that'll be taken care of.
Perfect.
The, our sidewalk plow, we're having a little bit of, repair work needed on it. It is over 50 years old. It was hand-built in the early 70s.
Not the machine, the actual
The actual,
blade.
the actual V plow.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I was gonna say, I thought we
So,
just bought the new one.
and over the years, because it's had to be used on so many different pieces of machinery, it has been cut and welded and fabricated. And we're just to the point now where, it needs to not be totally rebuilt, but, quite a bit of work done on it. And I've looked into the new ones, and the new ones just aren't as beefy. They're just not built as well. So, we're going to be able to get through the rest of the winter with it, but, it's gonna be a couple $1,000s.
Summer project for.
Yeah, summer
Yeah.
project, but, that'll be cheaper than a new one, but I'm confident that once it's rebuilt, we'll get many more years out of it, so. And speaking of plows, Riverside will be painting our plows again this year. We've reached out to the art director over there, and they're gonna be able to work it out, that they will be able to bring the students to our facility, either one day or 2 days, however they need it, but, and we'll have it ready, and we'll make that work.
For that plow, I'm wondering, would that be something like Auburn could do or whatever, like the kids over there at Auburn, where they could beef that thing up for us a little bit, just as a
It's probably
project for
something
them?
that I would think Bill, would wanna do in-house so you can monitor what's,
Okay,
Yeah, it's,
yeah.
all right,
the,
just thinking.
it might not seem like a big deal, but the angle where it hits the sidewalk is.
No, I figured it's a specialty
It's
thing that
key,
you,
yeah,
you
so-
know what you want
Yeah.
kinda
Gotta
deal.
be. Yep. If we are going to get parade banners,
Yeah, I wanna talk to you, so we decide which one you want me to do, so I can order it this week, the sample, so we can see what, and then we can decide if that's good and we'll go.
okay, I was.
So I know you sent a multiple different ones, so we just need to decide which one we wanna go
Yeah,
with.
right, and then, get them ordered as soon as we can, cause,
Well, that's what I'm
I
saying.
want them to be up at least a week prior.
Yeah, the turnaround time's nothing, so we just gotta
Okay.
decide which one we want, which I was thinking we could do today.
Okay,
Then I could order that one, see what it looks like, how it feels, what you think, and then we can make our decision from there.
okay.
So at the end of the meeting,
Yeah, we'll just,
we can take a look at them
are we
and
allowed to decide on that? Wait to do that in the meeting. We have to decide in the meeting. Can you get those so we can decide while we're here? We have to do it in the meeting. We have to decide which design we're gonna use.
Okay, yes.
Can we put, any chance we can put it up on the screen
Yeah.
later?
Yeah.
So, Ally, was it an email you had?
Yeah, I'll have to ask Karen. Karen, I'm sure Karen has it.
Just have her resend it to
Yeah.
us
To
real
Harley?
quick,
Right.
or Harley, or whoever. And Harley, is that your computer screen up there?
No, that computer back there, but I can share to the meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
It's in the,
So have Karen send her those real quick, and then
Where do you need it?
to my email.
Okay.
Yeah, anybody should be able to share.
And so at the last meeting, I had talked about an estimate of $4,300 to repair one of our trucks. It came back at $3,650. So they were able to reuse some of the sensors. So there's a resolution to be passed tonight, and that's what that is for. Less than what we had thought.
Okay. Anything else?
No,
Any
that was all
questions
I
for
had.
Bill? No. Okay.
Okay.
All right, thanks. We will move to zoning, about 15 minutes max, so we have time to do an executive session before the 11 o'clock meeting. So,
Okay, well, I'll be pretty quick. The only thing I really wanted to talk about this morning was the Meyer Express gas station convenience store. As you're aware, they sent us a rendering, which Harley and I both identified as the same thing that they showed us a few months ago. I sent them back a link that I had found to a Meyer Express that they built in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, and suggested that even though that wasn't representative totally of Western Reserve architecture, its appearance and the use of the materials on that building, the appearance of the materials look like it would be more compatible with our corridor. But I have not heard back from them. So that's just an update. I'm not sure what they're thinking or what they're trying to accomplish, but
they don't have to build a store that they've built somewhere else. I mean, they have architects, I'm sure. They could make something that fits the guidelines.
well, they could come a lot closer than what they're coming so far. When I saw the Sheboygan building, that was more compatible because visually it's going to match up pretty well with what it's going to be next to, and that would be the Safe Store building. But so far they're very slow to respond with anything new or fresh.
All right.
All right.
So that's
So they're slow.
Yeah, they're slow. It's on them. At the end of the day, we know what we have and what they need to do.
Right.
It's not
Right,
negotiable
right.
in this story.
So this was the first.
Okay, really, that's all I have. Do you guys have anything that you wanted to discuss?
Yeah. So on the front of their sign, if it says like I'm looking at right here, it says Grand Rapids. It better say Painesville Township.
I had that in mind as soon as I saw that.
Okay. We're thinking alike then. Thank you, Richard.
Thanks, Chuck.
Okay,
So that was their
Just taking a cue from Josh on that one.
and this was
right. I knew that would not get past you guys.
Harley, did you have anything you wanted to discuss or anything? Or, I mean,
I've got something on them.
on who? Meyer?
Zoning.
Oh,
Here, this is actually the Sheboygan building.
see, that
Are you
doesn't look.
trying to share, Rich?
Pardon?
Are you trying to share your screen?
Oh, I forgot.
Is that Sheboygan there?
no.
No.
I'm going to present,
Okay,
or
hold on.
you're presenting.
He's not
You're
sharing it.
presenting.
That's not very attractive. So
I like it, but it's not for this.
it's not in the corridor. I mean,
Correct.
Yeah.
I like that look, but it doesn't fit down there.
What am I supposed to? What button am I supposed to press here?
Oh boy.
Present now. Present now.
Yeah, and then select, is it on your, a webpage?
It's a tab, yeah.
Okay, so select a tab, and then you'll click on the tab. It should show you images of the tabs that you've got up, and then click on the tab that you want to share.
I think this is the one. Phooey.
I think you got it. Looks like a big link. Click on it.
Yeah, it is.
There,
Click,
there it is.
click on the link.
Click on the link.
Sheboygan.
It might bring up a different
I
tab.
love that name.
I know. There it is.
Did that do it?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Just gotta tab through the pictures. There you go.
And you see the pump islands, they've got the tall brick columns,
Yeah, it's nice.
which I think is a nice feature on pump islands.
Go back to that last picture. That gives us the. There you go. That's gonna, and that'll look
That's
almost
closer.
similar to.
Some sort of awning.
Yeah, but that's gonna look similar to what's going next door, really, with that brickwork like that. It's gonna look sort of like that storage place, so that'll fit nicely next to it. I mean, it seems simple to me. Hey, we're willing to talk, but you gotta. It's this or nothing. I mean, it seems pretty simple in my mind.
Well, you know, especially it would make sense for them to positively respond because this is something they already demonstrated they can build.
Well, right. It seems simple enough to just
Yeah, that doesn't cost.
copy and
That
paste. and be
doesn't
done.
call for any brand new architectural style that's totally foreign to their people.
Right.
If this appearance looks like it would be compatible on our corridor, I think we would be wise to discuss this with them. I just am having some difficulty understanding why they're so resistant or slow to warm up to this kind of a conversation.
Well, you know, sometimes you get somebody that might be in the construction portion or the development portion of that business, and they have a, they have a outlook of what they want for the future of their, new products being put into the marketplace. So they might be stuck on that new design. But I think it's important to let them know that if they want to be considered for our community, they have to push that aside and be willing to play ball with us,
They may have 20 projects they're working on, and this might not be the top one, so they're just going at their own pace.
Well, I know that is probably the reason they've been slow to come back to us over the last couple of months.
But you know what's
Because
going to happen?
they did have a number of new stores going in.
Right. So that you know what's going to happen. They're dragging their feet, and then the other stores that have been priority are going to be done, and then this will become a priority, and then everything will become an immediate.
So we're willing to work with them, but that roof line's got to change too. But
Right, in the
this is a
interest-
good starting point.
In the interest of time and schedule,
We need to
we'll
move
move
on.
on to,
Yes.
do you have something else?
Okay.
I just wanted to
Okay.
add that.
Thank you, Rich.
At the previous trustee meeting, the trustees asked for what was approved for the Brooks, the FPUD, and that's in there.
Yes,
And
that-
that's all I wanted to.
So I would like to touch on the Brooks. Can you put something on the screen from your computer? Go to the trustees folder in the drive.
So nothing's come back to us officially as a request, right?
Go to the trustees folder. In the
Correct.
drive and look for a folder
Okay.
called Brooks Flood. I don't want to spend much time on this, Josh. I just want you and Gabe to be aware of this.
Yes. I'm sorry, where was this at, Chuck?
So in the drive,
Yep.
there's trustees folder. Within the trustees folder, look for a folder called Brooks Flood.
Okay.
Brooks Flood?
Brooks Flood.
For this meeting?
In where? Zoning?
No, under the trustees folder on
I'm
the
in-
Google Drive.
I'm in there. It's in this meeting?
No,
No.
it's just under the trustees folder.
Just under the trustees folder, there's another folder
I
called
see.
Brooks Flood. So
Okay.
she's gonna put
There's
it up.
47 pictures here.
Okay, so there's a bunch of pictures. So these pictures are from a flooding event that occurred in the Brooks in 2013, and yeah, it looks like it. So anyhow, I know that they want to go in there and put in what they presented to us, but there are existing flooding issues. And those flooding issues that are in the brooks are overrunning the creek, and they go into the neighboring properties, some of which have basements. Some of these homes within the brooks have been flooded. I believe one of the problems that was creating the flooding at their main detention basin, part of it has been corrected because the county closed off something and they fixed at the end of Bacon Road that was bleeding into it. So I think part of it's been done, but there's also other properties. Keep clicking. That one there, that one there. Those pictures right there are right where, stop. Okay, so those pictures right there that you were just looking at are properties that are right where they want to extend the road at the back end of the brooks into what he wants to put for a public street. And that's right on the back side of all of those homes. So there is an existing problem with that whole area, just like there was an existing problem with the area from the Pines feeding into Lake Erie Shores. This creek flows into Lake Erie Shores, and it causes problems over there as well. So it's an FPUD. He wants some things. These things need to be addressed to create the problems, because when this whole area was put in, it wasn't addressed, and it exists. So whatever that something is, it needs to be considered. That's why I stuck them in there. So at your convenience, please check those pictures out, and then we can talk further. These were provided by Mr. Bill Anderson, who has the last lot. His home is the last one at the end of the road before the new development begins. He's the president of their HOA, or at least I believe he still is, at least he was. And those are pictures, a lot of those pictures are from his backyard. Some of them are from the other end of the property. So that's for your consideration for future conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and then, I don't think there's anything else. I'll ask for a motion to go into executive session to discuss employee compensation.
So moved?
Second.
Mike, please call the roll.
Trustee Chiccanetti?
Yay.
Trustee Hillier?
Yay.
Trustee Pennock?
Yay. Do we want to,
Yeah, cut that.
should the three of us just go in the back and just leave this go?
Yeah, that's fine. Let's just.
So, yeah, you guys can stay in here. We'll head in the back. Chuck, do you want to grab your laptop? Because I saw you had something. If you wanted to. I'd like to grab my laptop, too. You have a laptop, right? Patriarchal.
Yep.
If you could,
Yep.
join us if you.
Are we the only ones that got it? Which I hear. Camera thing's still on. but they know that even if they go through that process, it won't meet ODOT standards. But I think communities could.
I think Kurtz Brothers has a big, place of, like a landscape, where they could probably use it themselves.
They're a big company. Yeah. So Jason was really surprised this year when I said, well, you know, we're thinking about, doing this. He didn't know we did, of course, by the getting done. I don't know if he knew who else that was in the running.
Yeah.
He thought, they were,
Yeah.
he thought they were at come. No, it's, everyone will pursue to get somebody else to pick up the other. Not, I get it under about 2 million.
Yes, I did hear that.
Yes.
Good morning. How are you? Nice to see you. Sorry, Jerry, you know Bill? Bill,
Nice to see you.
Jerry is our officer now. He's been assigned to us. Frank couldn't take us anymore.
Not exactly. He's just unavailable today, but
That's all right.
I'll fill in when either him or Izzo or Chief or.
This is the work session. They're in an executive session to discuss something. Then they're gonna come back and we'll continue our discussion until 11 o'clock.
Okay.
At 11 o'clock, we'll end the work session, and then we'll start, and we have to do it for broadcasting purposes, then we'll restart the public meeting.
Yes.
And at some point, the Chairman Josh will call on you for the sheriff's office report.
Okay.
I don't think you've met all these guys, have you?
I mean, I'm familiar, but maybe not like personally talk to.
Well, just so they know who you are, why you're here.
Yes, absolutely.
I told them after you met with me in the report that that was.
It was like 4 minutes. Okay.
So we could have done it. I guess we lucked out. Yes.
I know, you keep saying that. I don't think we'll get out of it, but I think we'll get somebody else to pay for the remediation. Yeah, we yeah. Well, I think it's a good concept. I didn't realize, I didn't know until yesterday, there's competition. I didn't know other companies were interested in the salt. I didn't know about that till yesterday. So,
Oh, is it? Okay, 'cause I got it, it's that.
it is. There's no doubt. Yeah, there is no doubt.
I was kind of waiting for it.
Yeah, I wonder.
Dan actually didn't know before.
Okay, yeah.
You want to talk
Right,
before.
right. I agree with that.
Yes, yes.
You want to talk before you done all day. I wanted to come back and say, put that under your other words is not nice.
Yeah, he's in
Our discussion is not gonna.
No, he's in a different station, though. I will know.
Yeah, no, I just don't want to tell them.
I push for the EPA to take over our site.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, that it's a million dollars.
Right.
EPA's never gonna take that site. How we doing?
Good.
I love state of Ohio.
Good.
Oh, my God. Oh, I know, I saw it.
Yeah, I have a meeting with Sean, later this afternoon because there's issues with the volume coming through on YouTube. That's why he checked into the meeting, was he kept getting me feedback about what's going on the YouTube streaming side, but then when he joined the actual meeting, the volume was perfect. It's the YouTube side that's low. And so I have a meeting with him to go over
Yeah,
all of
yes.
that and see what's happening
Well, on that note,
But I am,
in my opinion,
still trying to be.
it seems insane that you cannot turn the house speaker volume down. I just feel like that it's no way possible you can't adjust the volume of these speakers.
Yeah.
And if that's a problem, if that doesn't exist, then that's a problem when we need to get that. You can get an amp that has a volume control on house speakers. I mean,
Well, Harley's gonna work with Sean
yeah,
this afternoon.
we talked already. Because I'm
Okay.
like, that's what's causing our feedback. Is this is so loud, it gets piped back into here, and that's what you get that circle going, and that's what causes the feedback. So
All those years of managing concerts at,
yeah,
There you
right.
go, I was
See,
just gonna say.
Hey, Jace, could you sign this, Mylar
Yeah.
for, Fairway Pines?
What's
Main
today's
Street?
date?
16.
16.
Oh, I did 2-0.
February's halfway over already. Crazy.
Okay. I'm looking forward till June.
We have
June. I get my 1-year countdown of Lubrizol.
Oh.
Tell your wife, Chelsea,
No, she's already wants to go. She turned 61 this year.
where she wants to go.
Or she turned 62 this year. Yeah. She wants to retire. She wanted to retire at 60.
Why does she need me? Why shoot? If I was gonna
I'm making her
retire,
go
I'd
till
want
I
you to keep
retire.
working.
Are we offline right now?
If I was retiring, I want you to keep working.
If you want to go ahead and
We are-
end.
We are not.
We can come in and go out of
Oh, yeah,
executive session.
don't yet, yeah.
Yeah,
All right, so we'll come back from executive session at 10:52.
And then we're done if you want to end this.
Yeah, then
until-
you can end the stream. Our work session's over.
We'll be back at 11.
Back at 11.
Thank you, everybody.
We're gonna end this
Back at 11.
session and we will be live